Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video we're taking a first look at a brand new Pokemon in the world of Pokemon Go, Kilowattrel. Kilowattrel evolves from Wattrel, which can be encountered in the wild during the High Zaptitude event. It was unlocked as a part of the Tier 2 Global Challenge. Now, Kilowattrel is an electric and flying type Pokemon that has a monster attack stat. This Pokemon can win charge attack priority over Morpeko. For the moveset, it's looking at Thunder Shock and then your choice of Aerial Ace, Thunderbolt, and Acrobatics. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches. Let's take a look at some practice Open Grade League battles featuring Kilowattrel. Hopping into the first match, we've got Mirror Leads Marowak into Marowak. My opponent safe switches into Lapras. I bank a Bone Club for later, and then send in Licky. Down energy, this matchup is very fine for Lapras. Lapras fires off the hard-hitting Ice Beam. It looks like with landing that, they'll be able to sidewave me into a range where Sparkling Aria will take the KO. I farm up a ton of energy, fire off the Body Slam, and I'm able to grab a shield from Lapras. Now, I just want to lock in whatever damage I can get, so I fire off the Body Slam. Lapras is going to no-shield. Lapras continues to farm up a monster amount of energy, and that could be very scary later on, because Lapras' energy goes everywhere into my team. I fire off the Shadow Ball, in comes Marowak. The good news for me is it looks like I can shield once and Mud Slap all the way down. This will be a big swing of momentum, as Marowak energy goes absolutely everywhere. I have 100 Marowak energy, but they send in an Azumarill as their final Pokemon. Azumarill can actually absorb all of this energy. This is not what I was hoping to see. I'm going to farm up to a Bone Club plus a Rock Slide and fire off the Bone Club. I'm hoping this will burn my switch timer, and it does. I'm able to save the Rock Slide for Lapras later and send in Licky. The threat of a Body Slam is going to force Azumarill to take the knockout with Ice Beam, and now it's time. I get to send in Kilowattrel. Kilowattrel into 2 water types is exactly where I want to be, but they banked so much energy on Lapras from earlier. This could get dicey. I shield up, opponent full sends the Ice Beam, and I fire off the Aerial Ace. Aerial Ace will be forcing the final shield from my opponent, and I need a catch to win. I farm up, switch into the Marowak, and I'm able to get the catch. I'm going to lose this energy, but this energy is not what I need. What I need is farm on Kilowattrel, because I'm going to need to make an Aerial Ace. In comes Azumarill, they make the Ice Beam, but Kilowattrel wins charge attack priority. Aerial Ace is only neutral damage, but it does enough. Down goes Azumarill, and that's a good game. We see a bit of a scary lead in the next match, Shadow Marowak into Shadow Scizor. The bullet punches absolutely shred Marowak in this matchup. Marowak has to respect the Trailblaze. Opponent is going to go for the Night Slash bait, and Disaster strikes as they do get the boost. That is atrociously bad luck. I'm not going to make the Bone Club because my opponent will fire off the Night Slash. I can't go down 2 shields with a Pokemon of Kilowattrel's bulk in the back. So I send in Kilowattrel, and those resisted bullet punches did criminal amounts of damage. But when my opponent sends in Azumarill, they may have double water in the back. Kilowattrel no baits here, going straight for the Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt connects, Azumarill gets absolutely rocked, and that is devastating damage. I have to respect the Ice Beam. Opponent sends in Feraligatr as their final Pokemon. I farm up and CMP tie Aerial Ace to their Hydro Cannon. Aerial Ace bait is going to be shielded up by the Feraligatr, and I got some very good Thundershock damage onto the Feraligatr to put it closer to Shadow Ball range for Licky. In comes Licky, and I should now be in a completely winning position. They can fire off the Hydro Cannon, but they're just going to get knocked out by my Shadow Ball. So I throw one Rollout and the Shadow Ball, but their Switch Clock comes up and they get the catch onto Azumarill. I go for the full undercharge. I'm going to need the farm down here. Azumarill does not get to the charge stack, and that's going to be a game over. As back in comes Feraligatr, so close to the Hydro Cannon, but they do not have it. Shadow Ball takes the knockout, and that's a good game. Great lead in the next match, Marowak into Empoleon. My opponent safe switches into Furret, and I'm more than happy to stay in this matchup, fire off the Bone Club, and then look to send in Licky. Licky is just an absolute brick wall here. Furret obviously can hit for neutral damage, but Licky is just so bulky that it can absorb Swift after Swift, and then look to exit this matchup with residual energy to threaten the Empoleon. Swift is going to land. I should be able to throw 2 rollouts in the Body Slam, so I get the max overfarm. It is a throw on alignment, but this way I exit with as much residual energy as I possibly can. Back in comes the Empoleon. Empoleon immediately under pressure here from the Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball is going to land, and I'm getting aggressive. In comes Kilowattrel. These Thunder Shocks do add up quite a bit. Thunder Shock not known for its damage. Hydro Cannon will be shielded. In the back is Shadow Talonflame, and look at my health bar. These Incinerates are neutral, but they sure do not look at Kilowattrel getting absolutely deleted. But look at this. Kilowattrel with a 1 HP survive. I'm able to make a last second aerial ace. Can I make it to aerial ace number 2? I cannot, and they exit with 100 energy. I bring in Licky. My opponent waited a turn to see what got brought in. They try for a farm down, but I'm able to make the body slam due to that 1 turn wait. Body slam takes the knockout. Marowak farms down Empoleon, and we're able to get that win. We've got mirror leads once again, Marowak into Marowak. I'm going to look to overfarm in this matchup because I always want to have residual energy. I go for the Bone Club, and my opponent just destroys me with a devastating catch of Bone Club onto Galarian Moltres. I rebank a Bone Club for later and then send out Licky. Licky, it's just so comfortable in so many matchups. It's one of the reasons why it's quickly becoming one of my favorite Great League Mons. Fly lands, Licky just simply does not care, and Licky now gets to fire off the back-to-back body slams. They should still be 3 away from the fly, so I can even throw 1 additional rollout to exit with some residual energy. Body slam into the Moltres will take the KO. Back in comes Marowak, and Marowak actually lets me get to the body slam. Now I can potentially look to try and snipe them down with a Mud Slap. So I go for the snipe, but they read it perfectly as they fire off the Bone Club. I barely survive. I'm clicking Rock Slide because I expect it could be another flyer in the back. In comes Charizard. They let it go. They thought it was a Bone Club, but we covered for a second flyer in the back by clicking Rock Slide. One-shot the Charizard and win the game. We've got a tough lead in the next match, Marowak into Credilli. I'm going to throw 4, wait a turn, and then get a catch and sneak onto my Licky. They did not bait, they went straight for the Grass Knot, and now I just have to watch for a catch. My opponent sends out Florges, and this works out pretty nicely for me. I'm up so much energy on Licky that I can just spam out body slams, and Florges has okay bulk, but at this much of an energy disadvantage, this matchup is a very tough one. Florges gonna farm up, but if they're on Chilling Water and Trailblaze, I just simply cannot get knocked out here. My opponent makes a smart play. They go for the Trailblaze. They're hoping that by ramping up their damage, that they should be able to farm me down with acids before I make the Shadow Ball. It's going to be close, but Licky, 1 HP remaining. We make the Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball lands, and that's devastating damage onto Credilli. Back in comes Marowak, and I can immediately grab a shield with Bone Club. Bone Club will be shielded. My opponent, this is tough. They didn't bait the first time. I shielded. This time they did end up going for a bait. In the back, they have Jellicent. This is actually a bubble Jellicent, and I'm just going to go straight for the Aerial Ace. Aerial Ace is not a great move, but this is a new Pokemon. People are not going to know what it has, so I'm able to successfully grab a shield from my opponent on what could have only been an Aerial Ace, but if you look at how much damage the Thunder Shocks are doing, the Thunder Shocks have basically put them at half health. Back in comes the Marowak. Now, I know Hex Jellicent counts. Bubble Jellicent counts? I am unsure. I farm up, go for the Rock Slide because it hits harder, and they make the catch onto Credilli. I go for the full Undercharge. That's going to give me 1 additional Mud Slap. Rock Slide does do slightly more damage. Back in comes Jellicent, and that will seal it. I don't know if my opponent locked in with the wrong Jellicent there. It is entirely possible, but either way, with good energy management on Marowak, we're able to take the win. We move to the next match, leading Shadow Marowak into Regidrago. Regidrago, always a very scary Pokemon. It looked like my opponent threw on 13 there, so I do get 2 free turns instead of 1. I'm going to look to farm up to the back-to-back Bone Clubs, and man, people are catching on me like crazy today. They catch the Bone Club onto Jellicent. Luckily, that's still a move that I would want to throw. I can rebank a ton of energy and then send in Licky. Jellicent farms to 100 energy. They can start unleashing Surfs, but with the bulk of Licky, 2 Surfs is just not going to be a problem. So they fire off the back-to-back Surfs. I really do not want them to be able to store energy on this Jellicent and switch out, as that would be pretty rough. So I don't overfarm as much as I could. Instead, I just fire off the Shadow Ball and KO Jellicent. That's a very nice swing of momentum for me. Will they send back in the Regidrago? No, they reveal their final Pokemon is Empoleon. Empoleon's energy is pretty scary into a Marowak plus Kilowattrel core. The Shadow Ball is going to connect. They do not want to take any additional damage, so they will fire off the Hydro Cannon. This looks like 3 Mud Slap range to me, so I bring in the Marowak. Opponent realizes they're getting farmed down, and they quick switch into the Regidrago. But the damage is done. Marowak is just so far ahead. Back-to-back Bone Clubs locked and loaded, and the moment they shield this, I'm switching into Kilowattrel. I cannot afford to get farmed down on Marowak, as that's my only lose con. In comes Kilowattrel. My opponent will fire off the Charge Attack right before I'm able to make it to the Aerial Ace. But with the shield still to hide behind, I can shield up the Vice Grip, take the knockout with Aerial Ace, and then all that's left in back is Empoleon. Empoleon makes the last second charge stack, but I still have Marowak in the back. Empoleon undercharges the Hydro Cannon, as they know there is no win con. Hopping into the next match, leading Marowak into Florges. I'm going to do 4, weighted turn, but my opponent tries to CMP time me, and unfortunately, I lose an entire Mud Slap. That is not a game error, that is just entirely my fault. Florges tries to CMP time me on the Shadow Ball, and I do actually get a free rollout this time. Chilling Water is going to land, that does do a decent amount of damage, and now I can return fire with the Body Slam. Body Slam into the Florges, gets the shield. Florges respecting a potential Hyper Beam if I'm not mistaken. I didn't have it, but they did end up respecting it, and now I can land the Body Slam. So even after a weird start to the game, I've gotten the Florges pretty low, and I have shield advantage. I think if I threw one more rollout, they could have made it to another Chilling Water, so I just undertap the Body Slam and take the knockout. My opponent, pretty much whatever they bring in, I'm looking to pivot. It's Talonflame, I pivot into Marowak, and I unleash Rock Slide. Rock Slide into the Talonflame will be shielded. Talonflame will get the full farm down, but I do exit with a 2 shield advantage for Kilowattrel. In comes Kilowattrel, immediately having to shield. The unfortunate thing for me is that they have Flame Charge, and they're looking to ramp up their damage. In the back is Galarian Corsola, a missed time from me, and that could potentially be costly. A free Astonish goes through, Thunderbolt rocks the Corsola. Corsola does not get the farm down. Kilowattrel survives. Kilowattrel fires off Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt is going to take the KO. In comes Licky Licky, and my opponent will fire off a charge attack. This should allow me to make it to a Shadow Ball. If they didn't throw, I would have had to hope that a Body Slam took the knockout there, but since they did end up firing off their charge attack, I can KO with the Shadow Ball, and that's going to be a win. Picking up a pretty rough lead in the next match, but the reason you run Marowak over Gastrodon right now is the flexibility. You have the ability to potentially get energy later on, and then inflict big super effective damage with Rock Slide. I send in Licky Licky, Altaria fires off the Sky Attack, and they send out a Shadow Kanto Ninetales. Ninetales is incredibly fast, able to spam out Weather Balls every 4 embers. They go for the Weather Ball as soon as they get it, and I'm more than happy to let this go. Weather Ball lands, Licky Licky now very low. I know that Body Slam will not take the knockout here, so I'm forced to fire off the Shadow Ball. I'm hoping for a shield, but my opponent is too smart. They take the farm on Altaria, and Kilowattrel is going to do very, very poorly here. Altaria gonna fire off energy. Flamethrower would probably almost take the knockout. I'm so glassy on Kilowattrel. I put up the shield, overfarm to the max, go for Thunderbolt, and they catch a Thunderbolt onto Gourgeist, and that just instantly ends the game. Oh my goodness. That is a devastating catch. What a play from my opponent. I farm up just shy of the back-to-back Aerial Aces. Aerial Ace is going to be no-shielded. They bring in Altaria, and I send in Marowak. Even despite that terrible catch for me, I'm still not out of it yet. The win con is as follows. If I'm able to bait with a Bone Club into a Rock Slide and then survive 3 Dragon Breaths on Kilowattrel to make it to an Aerial Ace. But as I look at Kilowattrel's health bar, I realize it's just simply too low. I'll be able to get the final shield with this Rock Slide, but unfortunately, without an Aerial Ace, I cannot win this game. Altaria fires off the Sky Attack. I know that I'm not making another move, so I let it go, but unfortunately, Kilowattrel gets farmed down, and we will lose that game. We see a familiar lead in the next match, Shadow Marowak into Shadow Scizor. Shadow Scizor almost always going to go for a Night Slash bait here, but I don't have a lot of HP left on my Marowak, so I will put up the shield. My opponent safe switches into Talonflame. I farm up to a Bone Club plus a Rock Slide, and I go for the bait. Bone Club bait is successful. In comes Licky Licky. My opponent, they're farming up to 100 energy, so I will CMP tie Shadow Ball to what I imagine is going to be Brave Bird. But it's not, it's actually a Fly. Fly doesn't do a ton of damage, and Shadow Ball should be enough with the rollout damage to KO Talonflame. That's big. My opponent did lose an entire charge stack. Shadow Scizor CMP ties Licky Licky to the Body Slam, as my opponent is just not giving me any openings to try and win this game. In comes Kilowattrel. In the back is Guzzlord, and this is going to be a very tough game to win. Guzzlord, it's going to be absorbing Aerial Aces no problem. They no-shield the first, they fire off the Brutal Swing, and this is going to be tough. I know I have energy on the Marowak, but I have to hope that I can somehow get the Guzzlord into Rock Slide range. If I can't, there's no way for me to win this game. Aerial Ace from Kilowattrel will be shielded. There's the Brutal Swing, and this will take the KO. When I bring the Marowak, I have to watch for a catch. So I bring the Marowak, I wait the turn, I see the Dragon Tail start, and I fire off the Rock Slide. Is this going to be enough? Rock Slide lands, Guzzlord hangs on, Scizor snipes down, and unfortunately, we will lose that game. Hopping into the final match, leading Shadow Marowak into Altaria once again. I do the exact same plays before. Throw a Mud Slap, safe switch into Licky Licky. My opponent banks a ton of energy and then sends out Furret. This is a really nice spot to be as Licky Licky, as Licky Licky can completely control this mid game. They have a bunch of energy on the Altaria, which could be problematic, but their Furret is going to have a pretty tough time. Their Furret still has not thrown a single charge attack as I make it to a third Body Slam. That forces a shield, and at long last, Furret will finally start throwing its energy. But getting a shield advantage out of this mid game is everything that I could have hoped for. They Trailblaze, I undertap the Body Slam because I'm now on my 2 cycle, and that 2 cycle forces my opponent into giving me the final shield. This is everything that I could have hoped for out of this mid game. Getting a shield advantage, and now I can look to farm down with Marowak. I'll have to give up a shield, but now my opponent has no shields, and I can just Rock Slide the Altaria for big damage. If Kilowattrel is going to want one thing, it's a shield advantage. Back in comes Altaria. I get to fire off the Rock Slide, and let's see this damage. Rock Slide lands, Altaria gets rocked, and Altaria will fire off the Sky Attack. I know with an 144 attack Pokemon in the back, I'm saving my shield for it. So in comes Kilowattrel. Kilowattrel winning charge attack priority over Altaria. Aerial Ace is going to be taking the knockout. What do they have in the back? It's Empoleon, and this game is over. Empoleon fires off the Hydro Cannon, but it's too little too late. Kilowattrel is about to close this game. Hydro Cannon gets shielded, Thunderbolt is reached, and this is just game over. One hit KO, down goes Empoleon. And that's a good game. All in all, I did end up having some fun getting to try out Kilowattrel. This Pokemon definitely feels like the epitome of high risk, high reward. It is a pretty solid moveset. Thundershock gives it incredibly fast energy generation, and with Thunderbolt, it gets an incredibly powerful same type attack bonus nuke. However, where I think Kilowattrel can fall flat is just that extreme lack of bulk. Kilowattrel, while it has such a monster attack stat, that translates into basically having no bulk to speak of whatsoever. Like that Talonflame game, those Incinerates were just absolutely devastating, and they weren't even super effective, they were only neutral. I shudder to think what Kilowattrel would look like if it was hit with actual super effective fast move pressure. So I think for now, Kilowattrel firmly belongs in the territory of a Mon for fun and not for climbing. It's never going to be a particularly meta-relevant Mon in its current iteration. Even with a pretty solid moveset, its stats just are really unfortunate for the Open Great League, where it would really need like an overpoweringly strong moveset to see play. Kind of similar to how Morpeko is very glassy, but at the very least Morpeko has Aura Wheel, which is an incredibly powerful move. It has absurd damage per energy, and it's able to boost its own attack. So until then, Kilowattrel, it's going to be a Dex entry primarily, but who knows, if they ever bring something like Flying Cup back, these electric flyers could put in some pretty solid work. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying content like this, make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you have not. And an extra special thank you as always to our channel members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is genuinely so appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.